Hi, friends. Before we get into the show, we wanted to ask that you rate, review, and subscribe to The Breakout. It's quick, it's super easy, and it's a really important way to help people find us and get to hear these inspirational stories. We really appreciate it.
I really fought against this identity of being a patient, being someone who's just expecting to wither away and to rely on doctors. And I remember I kept getting emails from a support group for MS patients, and support groups are great, but I deleted them all. I never went. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be a patient.
Over a decade ago, Kim Rahir was hit with a life-altering diagnosis. After a terrifying episode of paralysis, she learned that she had multiple sclerosis, and her life changed dramatically.
But facing a frightening loss of control over her own body and lifelong drug treatments, Kim's instinct was to push back on what her doctors were telling her, so she turned to exercise.
And I decided that I was going to get insanely strong, like physically strong. I just wanted to be able to rely on my body again.
And then something incredible happened.
The stronger Kim got, the more her symptoms declined, until one day she was officially in remission. The transformation was so extraordinary that Kim decided to leave her career in journalism to become a health coach specializing in aging women.
In this episode, Kim takes us through her devastating diagnosis and her discovery that physical decline isn't something we have to accept, even when we're told it's out of our hands. It's a story about the profound impact of building muscle, getting stronger, and taking control, but never taking anything for granted. Welcome to The Breakout, a show about smashing through life's little boxes and forging your own path. I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich.
And I'm Kelly Gunther. Carrie and I are people and change experts, best friends, and business partners. We've spent more than 25 years helping employees and leaders change. With love and a lot of laughs, we're here to empower you to live life on your terms. Our methods may seem a bit unconventional, but trust us, they will change your life.
Let's be real for a second. We know change can sometimes be scary. Heck, it even scares us. But staying the same can be even scarier. On The Breakout, we prove that you can escape expectations. And best of all, we show you how. We are so happy you're here, Kim. Why don't we start by introducing yourself and in a couple of sentences, what you broke out of and what you're helping others break out of.
So I used to be a journalist. Now I'm a health coach. I loved being a journalist, but I fell ill. First, I had a one-off Guillain-Barré syndrome, which was absolutely terrifying because within a matter of weeks, I was paralyzed from the hips downwards. I had 3 kids. They were small. I spent 6 weeks in hospital, paralyzed. You know, you're powerless in hospital anyway. You cannot decide when the light is on in your room, when someone is in your room, when someone talks in your room, when you go to sleep, nothing. And then when you can't even walk to the toilet yourself, you feel so dehumanized. So that was quite traumatizing, but I felt that I had learned from it, that I had changed perspective, that I had become more relaxed, more focused on true priorities, like being able to walk, for example. I learned a lot about life and what I want from life during that time, so that was a very big one. I got over that. I learned to walk again. I was still a journalist, still enjoying it, and then 2 years later, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. This was dark times. You don't know where you're going. Anything could happen to you. And then the doctor told me I needed lifelong treatment. And I already started to rebel a little bit at that point. And I said, why? I had 2 relapses. The second one was much lighter, hardly noticeable. Maybe I'm getting better. Maybe I don't need this. Interesting thing, he was not used to that at all. Somebody talking back. He was just sort of writing the prescription, wanted to send me on my way. And I fought with him and I had to give in. And I asked him, can I exercise? And he said, yeah, you want to be careful. Like, scaring me in a way without saying anything specific. just sort of giving away, actually, that he had no idea of how to use exercise for someone with that diagnosis. Next day, I talked to a nurse who showed me how to inject myself, which I had to do 3 times a week for a few years to come. And she said exercise is great. It makes you fatigue resistant. Fatigue is a big thing in MS, so exercise is fine. So I armed myself with a book that was called New Rules of Lifting. It was for women, and it was one of the first books who said women should lift heavy. And I decided that I was going to get insanely strong, like physically strong. I just wanted to be able to rely on my body again, trust my body again, never feel so disempowered as I felt before in the hospital. So I told very few people that I had MS. I did not let myself be locked into that patient thing. I was supposed to become and be a patient.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a power. I felt that very strongly. So I started lifting heavy, and I got better so quickly, physically and mentally, which is a big one. And my checkups took like a minute or something. They just saw me walk in and walk out. And after 3 years, my neurologist said, "Do you want to stop the treatment?" And I said, hell yes. I really fought against this identity of being a patient, being someone who's just expecting to wither away and to rely on doctors. And I remember I kept getting emails from a support group for MS patients, and support groups are great. I'm not saying that's horrible, but I deleted them all. I never went. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be a patient. And when I stopped my treatment, I thought maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe this thing of training and building your physical strength has so many benefits that it could help, women in all kinds of situations, but especially midlife women who often feel locked into that place where, is this as good as it gets? Do I have to accept that my body is changing this way? Do I have to accept that I'm always running after everybody else and not looking after myself? And that's when I decided to take the plunge and become a health coach.
I mean, that's quite a breakout for you. You had your first illness and you thought, all right, I've learned my lessons with that and I'm more balanced. Do you think you would have pushed back as so much on the diagnosis of MS if you didn't have the first one?
I don't think so. I actually think that this first episode was the one that really changed me very profoundly. And I remember when I fell ill, my kids were small. I was working full-time in shifts, coming home, making dinner, looking after homework, all those chores. It was like, it felt so heavy. And the minute you can't do those things anymore because your body is ill, because it's not functioning, it's all you want. It's all you ever dream of. You think, oh my goodness, how great would it be if I could stand up in the kitchen and make a meal for my lovely, lovely kids and just spend time with them. And I really promised myself not to forget that. I remember once I was already back home, still using crutches and a wheelchair. It was cold outside. And I saw a couple walking by in front of my window, and they looked so grumpy and so unhappy. And I thought, what's wrong with you? You can walk. You're walking outside in the clear air, in the winter sunshine. Why are you looking so unhappy? You have no idea how lucky you are. And I know sometimes it can sound a bit like cheesy and gratitude and be grateful for everything, but I am literally grateful for every step now that I take. I know that whatever I do, what I'm enjoying, like now I'm even a competitive weightlifter. It's absolutely mind-blowing, but I know it can be over tomorrow. I know that.
Yeah.
It can always be over. And we all have that knowledge in our head, right? Rationally, we are aware that life is fragile. It can all stop tomorrow. But I somehow know that in my bones and in my fibers. And the interesting thing is, it doesn't scare me. It makes me more attentive to what's going on today, because I know it might be gone tomorrow. So make the most of what you have today.
I think in her head, she learned all the lessons from her first illness. So then when you came at her again, it was like in the movie when you're a strong woman, you're like, sucker. I'm not putting up with this shit again. Like, I have been through this before. Like, that is the energy she gives on the MS diagnosis of like, I'm not doing this again. I did this. I learned my lesson. That spirit was amazing.
The clarity that she was thinking when she was diagnosed, in both occasions, that she had the wherewithal to really think about it and kind of look at it almost externally outside of her body. What is it that I'm facing? What does the prognosis look like? What can I do now? But to maintain that throughout the duration of what is a lifelong diagnosis. I mean, it doesn't go away. So the presence of mind she had throughout this entire process probably says a lot about her, just how she's programmed and wired. But even after you get something like that, just to have the tenaciousness, pretty incredible.
Take us back to that MS diagnosis. Take us a little bit on that journey of how you decided to not going to be a patient. I want to start maybe training my body a little bit differently. Take us back to that time.
Yeah, I can remember that it was actually a few weeks where I just went to bed at night, trying not to think about all the scary stuff that could happen, trying not to imagine, would I be paralyzed? One doc came while I was getting an infusion in the hospital with a survey, and he asked me a few questions. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm doing a survey. I'm working on a specific type of MS where you lose your eyesight." And I thought, thanks for sharing that with me. That was great stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing a survey about people who die the next day after I take this survey. Like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I took some time sort of getting into my new situation, but it was mostly really asking myself, how did I want to deal with that? Did I want to be scared every night in my bed and think, oh my God, what's going to happen? And because I didn't have much damage, my left hand is numb to this day, but I could walk, and I was grateful for that even then. And because the future seemed so scary, I decided that I was just going to focus on one day at a time, like really on the present day, make the most of that, spend time with my kids, enjoy time with my kids, and do whatever I could do on that particular day. And I think that saved me, especially mentally, because I just moved away from that big picture. We always have this advice around, look at the big picture. It's so good to look at the big picture. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not, especially when you're in the second half of your life. The big picture is a bit bleak and says, okay, most of it is over. So if you think about that too much, you're going to become kind of very unwilling to do things, very unwilling to try things. If I think about what's going to happen to me when I'm 80 now, I'm scared. So I don't.
Right.
I'm just thinking about what can I do now? And this is also how I approach my work with my clients. We all have these ideas. We should be able to do this. We should be doing this. We should look like this. And we just take it back to, what can you do today? Just one thing. And then do that. And then do it over and over again. And you create momentum and start feeling better about yourself.
Well, you said the one swear word, Kim, that we don't like to say, should. Kelly and I swear a lot, Kim, but should is the one we try so hard, because you're right. So many of us use that word. I should be a vice president now. I should be this weight. I should have 5 kids. Whatever you think, we should ourselves to death. And it makes a very unhappy life. So I thank you for bringing that up. I want to talk about how much you're weightlifting. I don't even know the right words for it, Kim, but you bench something.
I don't bench.
Oh, see, I don't know anything, Kim.
I've been without treatment and without relapse for 7 years now, and I'm absolutely grateful. And I kept on lifting, and it's true. When I started working out, I was deadlifting, I was bench pressing, I was doing all these things. And then by some accident, I was working with a personal trainer here in Madrid, and he one day said, "Kim, would you like to try Olympic weightlifting?"
Oh.
And I had this recollection because I watched the Olympic Games with my dad when I was a kid. And I think that there were some good German lifters, so that's why we watched that. And in my memory, I was a kid, so for me, those were old men, very hairy, very fat, and lifting heavy stuff overhead. It was impressive, but it looked really weird. But I was curious and I thought, yeah, let's try that. And I tried it and I sucked at it because it's so difficult. It's not only physical, it's also physics. There's 2 exercises in Olympic weightlifting, only 2. One is called the snatch, where you put the bar from the floor over your head in one move. The other one is the clean and jerk, where you clean the bar off the floor, you rest it on your shoulders, and then the second movement, you put it overhead. And in competitions, you have 6 attempts, 3 at the snatch, 3 at the clean and jerk, and that's it, So I tried it. I wasn't good, but I loved it because you need like full focus. So this idea of focusing on the present, you cannot think about what's for dinner or about any exchange you had with someone before. And then it's, practice, so that as much of the movement as possible is somehow automatic, goes from your brain to your fibers without you having to control it consciously. But I loved it so much that I changed my gym. I left the commercial gym and went to a weightlifting club where there's no mirrors, no music. There's just a lot of iron and a trainer who tells you what to do. And after 2 weeks there, they said, "Oh, Kim, do you want to compete?" And I said, "Do you know how old I am?" Which, what a stupid question. Why did I ask that? I wouldn't ask that today. And they said, "We don't care." And I said, "Okay, let's give it a go."
Wow.
So there was still some breaking out to be done at that time, right? I was still in this thing, oh my God, am I too old for this? And you're never too old for anything. And now I'm going to these international competitions where guys show up that are 89.
Wow.
Some of them have trouble walking, but they travel across the globe. They go to the weigh-in on the morning of the competition. They show up on the platform and they lift. And I want to be that person when I'm 89 because it's really inspiring.
We'll get back to the interview after this quick break.
On the Breakout, Carrie and I celebrate big changes and small shifts. Only about 10% of us are really self-aware, but 90% of us think we are. Without self-awareness, change is tough. And if you don't know what box you're in, you can't break out of it. That's where we come in.
We are coaches and consultants that help you dig into change. We've spent our lives breaking through expectations, and we've devoted our careers to showing people how to do the same. We're here to help you demolish the story you've built around yourself to reveal the true you. Then the real fun begins.
And by fun, we mean helping you figure out your why and taking action to forge a fresh path. Connect with us at abrachigroup.com.
Maybe we could start weightlifting. What do you think, Kelly? The Abrachi Group weightlifting?
I mean,
you in?
I'm always intimidated by those kinds of things. So I have some questions for you, Kim, around just where you start with someone who is maybe embarking on a journey like this. What is the benefit that you've seen in terms of building muscle? What has that done for you? What can that do for others?
I think muscle is the closest thing to a health elixir that exists because it will take care of so many functions in your body. And we are not aware how far removed we are actually from our natural way of functioning, from the way we have evolved as a species. I think our whole system is optimized for physical effort every day because that's how we developed. Mm-hmm. And it's not, like we can sort of rest easy and sit at our desk and then we go for a walk and we're getting better. If we don't move as much as we can, we will be getting worse. So sitting is maybe not the new smoking. That is a bit exaggerated, but the way our world is organized right now, we are getting worse. We need to move as much as possible. And then turns out what my personal experience taught me, where I got better physically, I got stronger, more mobile, more confident, like physically, carrying boxes of stuff, nothing intimidated me. And then the improvement in my mental health, the way you feel when you lift. And that's because you overcome resistance in the gym. That's all you do. There's resistance and you overcome it. And I think you are building neural pathways actually in your brain, and it carries over into other aspects of your life. And you deal with resistance, much more confidently, and because you have learned in your fibers that you can overcome resistance. And now the science has caught up with my personal experience, and we know that muscle mass and muscular strength are directly related to longevity, to metabolic health, something we didn't know before, because the muscle is a storage site for blood sugar. It's a big, big problem in health these days. People are, getting insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, diabetic. And when you carry muscle, your body will store sugar in there. So you have this blood sugar management system inbuilt just by lifting some weights. It's important for cardiovascular health also, and joint health. You carry your weight with your muscles rather than with your joints, they will be very, very grateful and not start giving you pain. And the mental health aspect, the studies are clear. All signs of mental health problems, symptoms, they decrease with strength training. People feel more confident, better about themselves. You even sleep better, and then that has knock-on effects. And what I love about this is it's so simple. When we reach our 40s and 50s and our bodies start feeling weird, some women really feel betrayed and think, what's this? This is not me. We think about all kinds of herbal teas that we might take, or we just need curcuma and then all the inflammation will go away, or we have to stop eating at 6 p.m. and somehow that will help out. Building muscle is so simple. You do not have to overhaul your entire life, and you will have effects in all aspects of your health by just doing a little bit of strength training. And I think the simplicity of it is what, in my opinion, makes it so attractive. And of course, for many people with our information overload that we have, they think it can't be that simple, but it really is.
There's so many questions that come to mind, but one of which is, if you have someone who has some significant physical challenges that they're overcoming, or even a mindset shift like, this will never work, I can't do this, I've never lifted a weight in my life, what is that first step that you sort of recommend that people take?
You want to assess where you are at physically. So you don't want to be stuck in your mindset or your self-perception. Women tend to think, I can't do this anymore, my high mileage knees, I've never done this. And then we also have this cultural resistance about women and muscular strength and stuff like this. So they tend to think that they can do much less than they can actually do. My clients, I assess them, I look exactly at how they move, how's their strength, their mobility. And this is what you need to find out for yourself. Where am I really at? Forget what I think and look what I can really do. Really, that's my appeal. Find out what your physical status is, what you can do, and then you start from there. Some of my clients, they start by just doing very gentle mobilizations, just starting to connect, the brain with the muscles again. Because if you've been not doing anything for decades, the body is ruthless. It sort of puts the muscles offline, and you have a hard time finding them, feeling them, contracting them. So you can start with that, and from there on, you can progress pretty rapidly, but it's very crucial to really start where you are so you don't get hurt, you don't get frustrated, and you can really do what's right for you in that moment.
You basically just gave that description of really understanding yourself and where you are, so you can appreciate maybe what your road looks like to get to where you want to be. I think coupled with that is something you highlighted, which is the mindset shift, the mental aspect of lifting or embarking on any kind of exercise that you may not have ever done or tried to do. How do you kind of coach your clients on that aspect of your training?
That's a wonderful question. I love it because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. The mindset conundrum. So many people think that they need to change their mindset in order to change their life. If you want to break out, you need to change your mindset. And it's very tempting. It's very inspiring. This idea of mind over matter, it makes us feel empowered. But how is it going to come about, that mindset shift? Is it an epiphany? Is it just going to come over you while you sleep? I'm sure some people do get up one morning, say, I'm going to change everything, and they do. But that might be like 1 in a million. I am now recently tending towards an approach that I call matter over mind, where we actually just start doing things, small things that we can do. So you don't see yourself as a person who lifts weight or who's muscular or strong. Of course you don't. You've never done it. I know you're a woman, you're in midlife, you have a family. And if you were to tell your friends and everybody, oh, I'm a weightlifter now, they're going to say, are you crazy? But if I have you doing, say, wall push-ups every day, you will, by doing these things, feel what it feels like to be someone who trains for strength. You will start to connect with that feeling. You will feel better anyway, physically and mentally. So you will keep doing it. And by taking these tiny actions and by training your body in these tiny ways, you will become that person. You will develop that mindset. And I think that's how it really works. I'm not going to, deny that these epiphanies exist, but I think the most surefire way to change your mindset is actually by having your body do these things. And very important also to start extremely small. Because, it's very tempting. So, I'm going to the gym 3 times a week yet in January. And that will very quickly collapse because it's just too much of a change. So if we do it very tiny steps, but by doing them, we become that person that we want to be.
What does it feel like when you see your clients have those subtle changes in what they think they are able to do and what they prove to themselves that they're able to do?
It makes me super emotional. It's just the greatest thing at all. I mean, most clients come to me because they want to lose weight, because my message is very clear on that I do that by building muscle. They know what to expect, but their main goal would be like, I want to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. And then as they get physically stronger and then they do like a full push-up, for example, you should see their face light up. A full push-up makes your face light up much more than a 5-pound loss. It's just so empowering. And I have this one client who in the morning to get out of bed, she needed a stick and she had this dream. She wanted to go horse riding. And it took 2 years to get there, but she did. And when she tells her story, when she says things like, you've given me my life back, then I just have to fight not to well up. And it's just amazing. It's a lot about power. Many people think it's willpower, it's self-control, it's discipline. But it's a lot about power and also external resistance, your environment, that you don't have enough power over to start doing what you want to do. So feeling that I can, help my clients feel more empowered and become more confident also in saying, what they want, what they need. This is also something that I love about your podcast is you have to find out what you need, right? We don't have that clarity. So many women don't have that clarity. We're just sort of muddling along because we've always done it like this. And then stop and ask you, what do I really need? Am I clear on that?
I mean, I could listen to you for hours. You have such a calming influence. Just as you took your diagnosis and created a customized plan for you to overcome it and to live in a life where you are strong physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, all of it, and then to make it possible for others to hear that message and to do things that they maybe never even thought was possible. It's, again, a testament to you and just how tenacious you are in not taking one answer as the only answer. So I wonder if you have 1 minute with someone, Kim, who is stuck and they want to break out, what do you tell them?
I ask them to forget all the questions that they have on their mind, like, why am I here? Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? Who's to blame? It's a very, very popular question. Forget all these questions that are sort of tormenting you and ask yourself one question only. Very simple. What can I do now? Right now. And it's the only question you ever have to ask you. Like for the rest of your life, you could do it, even when you're getting up and making coffee or having bread, whatever it is. what can I do now? Now is all we have. Now is all you can do. And by then doing whatever that is, you empower yourself. You create this positive momentum, that virtuous cycle where you do something, you realize, oh, I can do something. And then maybe the next day you can do something more. Just this one question. Forget all the baggage, all this, it's so easy to get lost in this past stuff that what happened. No, what can I do now? It's all you need to answer.
If you want to be happier and not pick at the scab so much, don't sit there and say, why did this happen to me? Why is this happening? Why me? That just leads you down a path of unhappiness. And then it also leads you down a path of not doing anything about it.
Yeah, I think it speaks to that power of developing resiliency too through like weightlifting. Is often you are picking at the scab, as you like to say, Carrie, because you are trying to either get to root cause, but maybe the excuse for why you're doing the why is for root cause, but maybe it just feels good because you want to find the blame and figure out who and make sure it never happens again. And unfortunately, we can't control our environments as much as I continue to, think I can every single day. Not going to happen
right now.
Right?
What?
I know, but I think that her approach is one that's really valid, and I think for some people will be much tougher to do perhaps than others. So knowing yourself and having self-awareness is equally as important to this, and knowing where you are versus where you want to be is important too.
Kim, tell us, when you first went into the weight room, how much you lifted, and now what do you do? Because I love that journey. What did you do first, and where are you at now?
When I started with the snatch, I could do something like maybe 20 pounds.
Okay.
And now I do 70. And I mean, 70 pounds is like, it sounds like ridiculous. It's nothing. But you step up to that bar and imagine you want to lift that overhead in one go. That sounds different already. And I'm just happy to challenge myself all the time. And something you learn with lifting too is you have to learn how to fail. You have to learn like physically how to fail. So when, you don't make the lift, that the bar doesn't fall on you. And also in competitions, you fail lifts and you have to move on, not look back, and just deal with that failure, which really helps you grow as a person.
I love that. Thank you for ending on that too. We really appreciate you joining us, Kim. And it was such a great interview to listen to your story and all the goodness you're putting out in the world. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
That was Kim Rahir, healthy, resilient, and stronger than ever. And this is The Breakout.
Kelly and I are in the business of breaking free, being brave, and living boldly. We're here to inspire you to be the badass you are meant to be. Coaching and consulting is kind of our thing, and we're really good at it. Connect with us at abrachigroup.com.
And don't forget to subscribe to The Breakout so you never miss a new episode. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And please leave us a review. Reviews help more people find the show, connect with us, and live a more authentic life. I'm Kelly Gunther.
And I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich. See you next time.